Hello everyone, thanks for coming and watching this video, Structuring International Student Support. That's the study that I have been working on this semester. It basically is an exploration on how does UK, in what ways does UK support international students? What are the structures here at the university? You can see what structures mean that support international students. Who are the staff that support international students? This is based on personal experience of always wondering, how are these students supported? Because they are different in many ways and have special needs compared to domestic students. My findings, generally, support occurs in spaces when there's interactions between students and staff, as well as staff members with other staff members, usually when there's something about the international student that's in mind, such as if there's an application process someone's trying to design, making sure international student considerations are being made in the design of that application process, for example. There are spaces, that's what these are, and they impact how staff work within them to support students. You can see there are several forms of space. These are what I've derived so far from my data, but today I want to focus on the physical aspect of space, and you can see what I mean by that. So looking at what are the physical pieces of space, the buildings, the common spaces, etc. I want to talk about three different offices when we think about physical space. The first one is the International Student and Scholar Services Office, ISSS for short. If you take a look at the picture here, on the one on the right is what students and visitors see when they come onto the second floor of Bradley Hall where the office is. There are two directions, the right going to a conference room and the left going to the main office. And you can see the main office sign if you're looking from the hallway. This is the other side. But notice the aesthetics of the space. What does it look like? There's not a whole lot there. Oftentimes international students have trouble reading or speaking English, so they minimize some of the text and other things to make sure that students can understand clearly what to do, where to go. The idea of the flow of space, how offices are configured with one another, that's really important. This field note, I think, sums a little bit of that up. Speaking of construction, the offices on the floor were each redone. Walls painted lighter colors, as well as carpeting taken up to expose the building's hardwood floors. For Joan's office, students liked how much larger it was, as she had switched office spaces twice before. The previous offices were closer up to the stairwell on the stairwell side of the hallway. Visitors often missed the office when it was in its old location. The reason why I think aesthetics and office organization are important, from what I can tell so far, is that it can affect the attitudes and the perceptions of people who interact in that space. So staff members reported being happier of the renovations to the building, as did students, I should say. So if staff are more happy, they may provide better service to students, which may in turn result in the student having a better experience. If the student knows exactly where they need to go and they can see it visually, they may have an easier time getting the help that they need in a more efficient manner. Another building I want to talk about is the Gatton College of Business. What's interesting about this building is that there are a lot of resources all within one space. So if you look at this picture, the Graham office is the Career Center for students, and the Undergraduate Resource Center is the Academic Advising Center for students. So our international students who are business majors have both of these right across the hall from one another, as well as other tutoring resources within the building. What's important about the proximity of these resources is that students don't have to leave to go anywhere else. Respondents talked about how students, international students in particular, they have trouble when they have to go to place to place to place and try to communicate to get their point across. What makes it better is when, as you can read in this excerpt, when staff from one office can walk students to another office, communicate what's happening so that there are no misunderstandings and so that better service can be provided to the student, again, in an expeditious manner. So having the proximity of offices very close together could enable staff to better work with one another within those spaces with the student together to make sure that support is being provided appropriately and in ways the student understands. The last space I want to talk about is the UK Counseling Center. And the reason why is because I went to an event there, a cultural coffee hour for international students, and this was what I saw. I came to a locked door. This was where the event was supposed to be taking place. There was no one there. It was in a room filled with offices where counselors would be behind their closed doors doing sessions with students. There was a white noise machine. It was completely silent outside of that. There was no indication that that was where the event was supposed to be, nor was there anything on the shelf denoting any presence of international students or any sign of welcome to international students. And why that's important is because spaces communicate messages. And when, if there is an absence of space or absence of presence for international students, what message are they receiving about their belonging on campus? How likely are they to use that space again? That's why messaging is really important. There is also no students space just for international students on campus. So when they need to retreat to be with people who understand them and are like them, where will they go? Not having a space, what message does the university send as far as how they value those students and supporting them? All of that leads me to my next steps. If you look at the picture, you can see my original bedraggled daisy, and there is no mention of space within that. So this was quite a finding for me. That means I need to go back to the literature and see how does space relate to support, the different elements of space, some of the other elements that I've talked about in this presentation. What does that look like? I then need to take that information and do some theoretical sampling. So look for it in my subsequent interviews, participant observations, artifact reviews, and making sure I'm still doing those constant comparisons so that I'm trying to see, is it across the board? Is this something that's kind of legit? Is it a phenomenon, or is this more of a discrepant case? So thank you very much for watching. I know this is very basic, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of idea of what I've been up to. Thanks.